Thank you, Madam Program Director. Honestly speaking, I tried a few maneuvers to calm my nerves down because of this massive excitement. The pink drink at the corner, the bar, doesn't work. I think I was duped into drinking pink. I should have taken the green one. So all of you who are trying to relax your nerves by taking the pink drink, it doesn't work. I think the vodka they used is not quite Russian. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to you today. I am truly overwhelmed. It's been a very long journey. And standing here looking at the audience and remembering the good old days, as far back as 2004, Jan Erasmus reminds me, when I didn't factor this line into my speech, but when I saw Jan Erasmus, I remember that when we were applying for this prospect right in 2004, he sent me out to this place. I didn't know anyone because he was the legal manager for the team at the time. And I wrote a part of that report from under a tree, sitting across the road there, and sent it to the office through a phone, and he literally copied that sentence by sentence and submitted that to the department. Now, today we can't tell them that it was actually manufactured under the tree. But that's how far back the project started. It's just fun today to be outside the rustle and bustle of town, of Tshwane, of Joburg, to be out here in the wilderness, in the wild, celebrating something to do with a mine. Today in this country, when we speak about mines, people cringe. It has almost become a swear word. We're associated with trouble, disaster, strikes, disinvestment, and all the other things that one doesn't want to hear about in a country that's still developing. But today, we're here to celebrate a success that a mine is being started. Having lived in this part of the world called Gauteng for the last 12 years, I haven't heard one like this. So I'm making an assumption that is subject to correction that this is probably going to be the first new mine in this province in the last 12 years. If there was another one I haven't heard, I will get corrected later. But the DMR is here, they will confirm with me. So we have a lot of reason to be very excited. We're doing something that doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen very often in today's economic climate that projects like this get started. We have a lot of reason to be excited about it. I remember back in the time when we were working on this project, Jan, that we had a debate for the entire morning, figuring out exactly what this fluorspar thing is. Firstly, how to pronounce it. A few of us thought it was something to do with a flower. And we were wondering why anybody should be spending so much time applying to mine a flower. And then somebody said, no, it's actually a flower spar. Now, I took advantage of a friend of mine who was a mining engineer at the time. And I said to him, I'm working on this project and I'm kind of liking it, but what is fluorspar? And in his wisdom at the time, he explained in detail that when he was at varsity, it was called a lucifer gas producing chemical. I thought, lucifer, so why are we chasing it? He says, look, the reason why it was called that is because once you convert it into hydrogen fluoride gas, there is nothing on the surface of the earth that it can't dissolve. It dissolves anything and everything in its path. It is very, very dangerous. So that was my first encounter with this animal. I'm here looking to apply for a prospecting right for something that's going to be horribly dangerous, that is almost equated to a lucifer gas. And I got taken aback a little bit. My two colleagues at the time, David Twist, who was an MD geology, and Rudolf de Brain, a very seasoned lawyer. I had to revise my strategy because at the time, the idea was to try and get as many minerals as possible that were non-platinum or non-gold, just to try and get something exciting outside the the common fashionable minerals. So this was not attractive at the time, but for some reason that I now know, it kept on being attractive. So yeah, it is only when we met a number of years later with an extinguished gentleman called Luke van der Heever, who's sitting in a green shed right in front here, who began to educate us about fluorspar. And I was saying to some people out there at the bar a little earlier, who happen to be distinguished members of the legal profession, that they have to be very grateful that the water and the drinks they're having are actually cold in this environment that is so warm. And the reason why they are is because there is a refrigerant inside that little box at the back there, and inside the refrigerant box there is fluorspar. So every time you drink a cold beer or a cold anything from today onwards, when we say cheers to fluorspar. It is very difficult to tell the history of this project without telling the history of our own country, because this is one of the projects that are actually literally born in the new SA. It has literally seen all the ministers of mines since 2004. I remember it was actually, the concept was born by Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka in 2004 when she announced that the new MPRDA and along with it the use it or lose it principle. The interesting interpretation from us was we can now start speaking to companies that are well established, that have got a whole range of minerals that they're probably never going to use. And this little asset here, this little gem here, belonged to a company called BHP Billiton. So because of that MPRDA in 2004, we were able to then approach them and identify the things they were going to use and the things they were going to lose. And we figured out that some of the things we were going to lose are things we could make use of. So just in case, just in case you think it didn't work, it did. Because of that, we then approached some organizations and said, what are you going to lose? What is sitting in that basket that you don't even look at, that we can make use of? So this asset, the bulk of it, especially the outwash fan, came from BHP Billiton. They were very gracious, they were very understanding, and they knew it was too small in their scheme of things, and they realized we were having some good ideas about how to develop it, and it was nicely transferred to us. I remember having a conversation with them. At the time, they were having problems with the sitting minister of minerals at the time, Ceci Lindiwe Hendrickson. So we had to go and see her. That Phumzile was already out of the picture, and Ceci Lindiwe Hendrickson was part of the minister, or head of the minister at the time. We managed to resolve the problems, and the mining application went in. It was eventually signed by the minister, Huyela Sonjika. She's the one who signed it off, and from then she moved on, and another 2 ministers came in after that. When we spoke to Gauteng province, at the time when the license had been issued and we couldn't find money to start building the mines, you know, there are times when they give you time to start. And at that time, you could actually play a trick. You could delay the execution because the time ticked when you executed. So we didn't have the money to start the project, so we delayed our execution. We sat with the legal team and the environmental team and thought, how best can we do this? We're going to lose this mine, we're going to lose this right, because it's been given to us with timelines and we're about to lose it. So we had to go and see yet another minister. There was 3rd or 4th minister at the time to negotiate. We went back to the province to explain our position, and it was accepted that we could delay our execution at the time, but within reason. I just want to emphasize the fact that the collaboration and cooperation between the team of SepFluor and Nokeng Mine with the Department of Mineral Resources has been exceptional. We have had challenges which would have made us give up. We had challenges which we were unable to meet at times, but we didn't hide away from the department. We went on and we went and sat with them and explained ourselves, our intentions, and they've always been there. They've always been the regional managers. I can imagine how many times we spent time with Susan and her team, and Dimakato and his team, and now with Datema Bas, who's now the new team manager. All of them know the project very well. We managed to make time to explain to them exactly what is going on. The community of this place has been very receptive, and I'm very grateful that before we started, the chief and his entourage welcomed us, because that's important for us to work with the communities, to work to understand what we're doing, and for them to understand what we are doing. I've always said to them, we're going to be around here for 19 years. And this is almost like a marriage. 19 years is much longer than most of these young people can handle a marriage. It's like a marriage. There is no way we're going to go into it with ill intentions. There's no way we're going to go into it with funny tricks. So if we make mistakes in the process of establishing this, they're all going to be very, very well-meaning mistakes. If you look at it as a mistake and not as a trickery of some sort, we will do this together. There's no way we can come here and plan to cheat successfully for 19 years. If we're going to be in and out, we could try a few things, but we're going to hang around here for 19 years. Even if we try tricks, you're going to figure us out. So we will make mistakes, we will make omissions. Please look at them as omissions with no malicious intentions. If we get together and talk, like I've just said, we've been talking to the DMR, we've been talking to the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. You were part of that when our first EIA was declined. We came back to you and we said, we need your support, we're going to reapply and appeal the decline of the EIA. You were all here. The MEC at the time was Mayor Tulekosa. She came in, she addressed you, and she said, do you want this project? What do you think is good about it? And you guys stood up and supported us, and we appreciated that. So we're not going to run away. I'm not saying we're going to make mistakes. Expectations in any community when something like this happens are very high. Unemployment is high, expectations are very high. Some people are going to be disappointed. Some of us are going to be pointed fingers at. The people who are on site are going to be called names. It's part of the game. But if you approach one another in good faith, we're going to be okay. We're going to do this together. We're going to be here for 19 years. There's no other intentions. And we accept your welcome, and we promise that we will work together with you to solve the problem that might arise. There are people who believe that some of us are fortunate. We have a lot of wind on our tails and things just happen, and especially mining. There are people who are known to be very successful, and therefore the presumption that mining is easy gets created. It is not. I think you've understood from the introductions that we were on this road since 2004. This is 2017. Just do the maths. It's been 13 years later. It is 13 years later. It's an indication of resilience, patience, hope, faith, and a lot of prayer. In case we didn't know, a lot of prayer. We prayed hard. There were times when we ran out of options, out of ideas, out of money, out of people, because you get very, very irritable when things are not happening. And Rob, who is our CEO, hasn't quite experienced this. He's been with us for the last 2 years. Before him, there were a couple of other CEOs, and when things were tough, that's why they're not here. That's what happens. Under desperation, people take measures that are not very comfortable. So we are very pleased to be announcing this project today. And I was thinking about it when I was driving down here about Sisi Reboni, that this project has seen about 8 ministers and about 5 DGs and a lot of DDGs. And she is so fortunate. After all that, they just paved the way for her to come and dig a hole in the ground and say, you guys, well done, you can do this. Congratulations. From 2004 to 2017, there were a lot of work was done. A lot of funding was organized, and we did a lot of term sheets. We were disappointed. We were strung along, but finally, we're here. 2017, we closed the funding, and as Oshib has already said, the people who supported us are all here, and we really, really welcome the investment. It is significant in the sense that the bulk of the not the rest of the funding, but the big chunk of it came from foreign investment, and I think it's significant in the context of our country, because many of us have been led to believe that FDIs have dried up as far as the country is concerned. It is indeed a challenge. It is indeed difficult, but we're fortunate that we've been able to show the robustness of this business to a point where the FDIs have been attracted. FMO and DG, DG is from Germany and FMO is from the Netherlands. They are, I'm choosing to be deliberately controversial, they are the IDCs of where they come from. I'm just pausing because I need some air. But I need some air. And as we welcome you, especially I see the group from the mayoral office of Tshwane are here, and we fall under them. I understand, together with other local municipalities. We're here for the long haul. We have a couple of ideas about how to take these processes forward. And if in case you do not know, SepFluor has a few projects in the pipeline. This has been the first one, and the Valmansdal been the second one. And there will be Velgelegen, Velgevonden, and Greepfontein. So we're planning to build a massive fluorspar company with very wonderful intentions going forward, which we're not at liberty to explain to you right now, because I don't want you to hold me to it. I don't want you to put me in a corner and start asking me about whatever is going to happen next. But yeah, we plan to do very interesting things with you, developments that will be very interesting for the continent, and wonderfully, because fluorspar is a mineral that doesn't play only in a local context, it plays internationally. We will be representing you as a country and as a municipality throughout the world. 2 weeks ago, we had a press briefing in Joburg, and one young journalist, and I saw her, and she's still looking at me now, said to me, "Did you believe it was going to happen?" I looked at her and I said, "You bet I did. Even if it was tough, I'm made of tougher stuff than that." And now that I'm promising you that we've got a pipeline of things to do, all very exciting. If you want to believe me, if you want to ask me if I believe it's going to happen, I'll tell you, you bet, it's going to happen. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Have a fantastic day.